I'm Shannon Carlock, and I'm project coordinator.
And I'm Blythe Handy, and I'm project coordinator as well. For me, day to day, because I am currently coordinating all of the volunteers that go in and serve the food, I daily deal with phone calls, emails. I can make it, I can't make it. Next week, schedule me here, don't schedule me at all. So it's that sort of people portion of that. But then I'm also in the school, a lot of times with Shannon, serving the food. And then we also are working on the process mapping. So there are days that I work on how are we going to put this together to make sense of every piece of this project.
I do very similar things to that on a different front. I deal with the school, so when we have issues that come up with things that need to be taken care of, school-wise, forms, things. So I do that stuff. I serve breakfast and lunch typically every day. And we have forms that the kids fill out at breakfast and lunch on certain days to let us know if they like the food. And just general kind of keeping things afloat for how do we keep an 8-week intervention going but still keep all the other stuff that needs to happen with the IRB liaisoning and Lakeland Nutrition Services, who communicates with them, and that's typically me letting them know what we need. So we just kind of, the outside people that need to come together with information, we're delegating that to both of them.
We've gotten to know a lot of these kids, and there is no way for us to now, keep up with them or wonder where are they going to be in life, because there are a couple that I feel close to, I know Shannon feels close to, I know we want to make sure they stay on the right path.
I think my biggest concern for the kids for the summer is just there isn't a whole lot to do in this area. And when you ask them right now, hey, do you have any summer plans? It's kind of silent. And that's never a good thing. We need more things for these kids to be doing and be actively engaged in. Food, what are they going to eat for the summer? And there'll be a lot of soda drinking and chip eating and whatever, but maybe there'll be some barbecues, and maybe there'll be a couple of times where they say, hey, I kind of miss having smoothies. And so, you're just kind of with them for 8 weeks, and then you let them go back into their way of being, but you hope that you impacted them a little bit so that we talk to them a lot about making great choices. Mm-hmm. Make good choices for yourselves. If there's a little heated dispute going on in the classroom when they're eating, we talk to them about, make a better choice for yourself. Sometimes, even if you're right, you don't need to express that. You can just kind of breathe through it. And so it's little things like that. Maybe they'll take that with them, with their siblings and how they interact. I don't know. But we won't know, and that's the hard part.
We got the appliances. I work at Whirlpool, so I was able to, and because I work in the product area, I know who to go to get things relatively quickly. So we were able to get 2 chest freezers and 4 refrigerators and 6 blenders and a microwave for the project that we've now we donated. Things were going to go back into the warehouse, certain things, but now I've talked to Whirlpool and they've agreed to donate everything, and we will just store it for future use.
Meals on Wheels was brought in by Lynn, and I'm not sure if she was given the recommendation to speak with Linda Stroll there or how that came about, but they've been fabulous with us. We have 2 drivers. Patty is our everyday driver, and then we have a Thursday hot breakfast, so we get a meal Thursday morning as well, and that's Jerry, and he brings that to us, and we haven't had any issues. There's just been a lot of people that have come forward with helping us. The kitchen that Lakeland Nutrition Services is using, I don't even know how to describe the size of it. It's
Very
a
small.
galley kitchen.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Very small.
And they opened it up for us to bring in our cook, who works side by side in this very tiny kitchen with someone who normally does a solo gig there, and has shared that space for 8 weeks, so that's kind of amazing too.
If somebody has never heard about the project and I want them to give time or appliances or whatever it may be, the first thing I say is we're working with these kids to help them in a nutritional manner that may help behavior, but we're right now working in the alternative education school, and it's an 8-week test, so we'd like to see what happens after that. Pretty much after that, people, they're in. Once they hear it's kids, once they hear it's sort of the alternative school, they're really into it. They're into it because they know that in this particular school and in this particular community, these kids aren't, they don't have the ability to eat some of these things that we've been feeding them. So it touches people, especially people that may have a little more than others, and they realize that.
A lot of times the first reaction is, wow, it's really nice that somebody's doing something there. So that kind of gets people on board really quickly too, because I don't know that everybody's used to hearing that, hey, we're doing something in Benton Harbor, we're doing something in school in Benton Harbor. So that, yeah, Blythe and I took an interesting trip on Palm Sunday to meet a driver with a big rig at the pilot station by the highway to retrieve 1,484 eggs
In my car.
in her car to get them to the refrigerators that had just been delivered to the kitchen in advance of this pilot. So there was a lot of, it wasn't as easy as procuring food and having it delivered and whatever. We were looking for chicken that, we thought was shipped on a certain day, and we knew it had a 2-day dry ice delivery, but then at day 4, nobody had told us they'd found the chicken yet. So there have been things like that where we've done crazy little things. ServPro was a last minute kind of decision to call them and get them to come and just do a once over sanitation of the room and clean it up, and then they came in. And we were there for the evaluation of it, and they started pointing out, because they're cleaning guys, pointing out stuff in this very old schoolroom, and the classroom had been closed up for a long time that we hadn't really necessarily thought about. So that was a last minute decision.
Like
to
what?
There were some definite things that were falling down, and water. There's a leak in the room, which we've had to contend with, and and that leads us to the janitorial department for the district, and then they're all overworked and struggling on their own, and they're going to bat for us to spend some extra time and some extra hours doing things for us, rewiring an electrical outlet because we were bringing appliances in. Oh, that's the microwave story too. We were bringing all these appliances in, and all of the outlets in the room were tied into one breaker. And so we're trying to think, how are we going to run blenders and a cold table and a steam table and not blow everything up in here? And we did have an accident with the microwave because there wasn't enough power in the room, and it smelled kind of funny, and Blythe said that doesn't sound good, and so little funny things like that along the way. People ask why be involved in a project like this, and you kind of can't help it once you hear about it. And it's something that this community has needed for a long time, need to come up to speed with a lot of things, and need to revamp things in the community so that there's more access and there's more knowledge for people to get healthier things for themselves. And, Lynn's so terrific to work with. Once you start working with her, you don't want to stop working with her. So the people that I've met on the project, Blythe and I did not know each other 5 months ago, and I don't know where I'd be with her now. It's pretty great.
Yeah. I got involved really because I've lived in this town my entire life and in the area, and I've watched how I've had friends that grew up in Benton Harbor that their parents moved them into the St. Joe Stevensville area to make sure that they had a better education, a better way of life for them, more opportunities. And that to me is sad, that you physically as a parent have to think about uprooting your family and just move them even a town over because you want them to have better opportunities. So for me, to know people and still have them in my life as friends and know what they had to go through, these kids are no different than any of my friends. So I just didn't think that I was going to become as attached to them, their story, their life, what is their future going to be, what path are they taking, why did they get here in the first place. I didn't really see that.
We see that in everybody. I know that the administrators at the school genuinely care about these kids and these students, and then Lakeland Nutrition, they genuinely care about these kids. It's really nice to be working with a team that feels that way about the kids, but also seeing it reflected back from the kids dealing with them and being kind to them, and they ask us questions that I never thought we'd get, and they kind of get it too. I don't know. They
Our
became part of the
volunteers
team.
have stepped up in a way I didn't think people would step up, and now for these last 2 weeks I'm actually turning people away to volunteer because they all just want to come in.
If Benton Harbor schools could believe in their students enough to be able to take the leap to allow something greater to happen, I'd really like to see us help be a part of that change of positive growth for them.